Hey everybody, it's Josh. Welcome to the Landlord Harassment Channel. And I haven't done a street stories in a long time. Probably about in 2 months, where I tell a story about something that happened to me in the streets. So I'm going to do that this time. Now, this story I'm about to tell, I've told on here before, but I deleted it because I didn't like the way I told it. But I'm just going to let you guys know up front that everything about this story is false as far as the names I'm going to use, the streets these things happened on, and so on and so forth. And that's because there's no statute of limitations on some things. And, I don't want to implicate myself in, or one of the other guys. One of the other guys is still alive, one of them is dead now. But I don't want to implicate them in nothing. So, what I'm going to tell you is that this happened in Milwaukee, but I'm not going to use the real streets it happened on. I'm going to make up different streets. I'm going to use real Milwaukee streets. It's just not the streets that these things happened on. And I'm going to use fake nicknames. Because, again, I just don't want to implicate nobody, myself included. So, here we go. Back in the day, my two best friends were guys that we were going to call Skinny and Freeze. Couple of crazy guys, especially Freeze. Okay? Freeze was temperamental. He was a little guy. He had little man's disease like crazy. But he was a good guy. If you were his friend, he had your back. And me and Skinny went to go stay at his house with him for like a month. This was in Milwaukee. And Freeze got himself a new gun one day. Okay? I don't know where he got it from. I forgot. But he got a gun from somebody somewhere in the city, and he liked to play around with his gun. So, and he was showing it off to everybody at first. Now, the gun was, by today's standards, just basically your basic standard 9mm. But at the time, this is 1995, 1996, it was like a state-of-the-art 9, right? And that's all I really remember about it. But Freeze had a crazy bone in his body, and he liked to get us geeked up to do some crazy stuff because he liked to do some crazy stuff. So, we ended up running around the neighborhood, just firing shots in the air just to scare people, um, shooting into cars, all that sort of stuff, just on foot. Just we would run up somewhere, fire shots in the air, or we'd shoot somebody's car, and then we'd run off. And we did this all over the neighborhood. We did this for a couple of nights. Now, one night in particular, me and Freeze and Skinny are riding around in this car, and Freeze has got the gun with him, and we're riding around with this one dude. Now, I don't remember if we were riding around in a stolen car or if we were riding around in like one of their cars. I don't remember this. We did steal a few cars during this particular week, so, or at least I think we did, unless I'm getting my memory screwed up one week to the next. But I don't remember if we were riding around in a stolen car or not. But either way, we're riding around, and we're just riding up and down the streets of Milwaukee. And we pull up. We're starting to pull up in an area that is known to, it's like a known Vice Lord area. I'll use the real gang name of the Vice Lords because it doesn't matter. They're too big to get this pinned down, right? But we started rolling up on a known Vice Lord area. There was this lone Vice Lord just walking the street. And you could tell he was a Lord. I mean, he had red on, and this was back when they still used to rock the bandanas. So he had the red rags on and the whole deal. And for whatever reason, Freeze decides to lean out the window and fire a shot at this dude. And I couldn't believe Freeze did this. So I'm like chewing Freeze out because like I just don't understand why he did that. Because this could have messed our lives around in so many ways. It's just not even funny. First, what if a cop had been in the area and saw that? We would have all gone down. Probably all gotten at least 10, 15, 20 years for that. And for what? This was just a random act of just Freeze doing just Freeze being crazy. And I don't even think he was trying to hit the Lord. I think he was just like firing his direction to try to like scare him just for fun. But if a cop had seen us, and like I said, I'm pretty sure we were riding around in a stolen vehicle anyway, so we were probably being looked for anyway. This car that we were driving in was probably already on the police's radar as far as watch out for this car, right? Excuse me. So it was just stupid. But there's another reason this could have messed our lives around. Freeze and Skinny were members of a Latino gang. They're white boys, but they were white boys in a Latino gang. Vice Lords are a black gang. Now, the way gang politics works in Milwaukee, or excuse me, at least the way gang politics in Milwaukee worked at the time, was that gangs of different races in the mid-90s did not go to war with each other. And the reason for that is because whenever gangs of different races went to war with each other, the police paid like extra special attention to it, and the police made sure to shut it down very quickly. And the reason the police did that is because once the media caught wind that two gangs of different races were at war with each other, the media would paint it as a race war, even if it wasn't a race war, so that they could get their views and their ratings and their clicks and stuff. And by the way, very rarely is any gang war in Milwaukee about race. I'll tell you that right now. I don't know what goes on now, because it's all different gangs in Milwaukee now than what it used to be. But in the 90s, even if two gangs of different races were warring, they weren't going to war about some race. All right, that died out in the 1980s. Anyway, where was I? What was I? Okay, I had a certain trajectory I wanted to follow here. Let me see. I'm losing my train of thought here. Race. Okay, now this worked even between like sets. Like let's say you have a white set of the MLDs. And by the way, I'm just using the MLDs as an example here. I'm not, but let's say there's a white set of the MLDs, and let's say they're beefing with the Latin Kings. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be beefing with a white set of the Latin Kings. Whenever something gets to the point of war between a set of one race and a set of another race, generally the leaders will get together and try to talk things out and piece things up before it gets to that point. Now, you can beef with sets and gangs of other races in some fisticuffs, but when it came to like gunplay and all that, nobody wanted that because, again, the police attention and the media attention on that war would be too great. Everybody involved with that war would be going to prison, and both sets would be destroyed by the feds, and they knew that. So there was wars between sets of different races were avoided at all costs in most cases. So for Freeze, as a member of a Latino gang, to shoot randomly at this vice lord, that could have caused a gang war that could have caused a lot of media attention, a lot of police attention, and that could have caused a whole lot of people to go down. Because the Lord, if the Lords would have ever figured out who he was, they would have had to have responded to it. And so then you'd have a quote-unquote race war going on, even though it wasn't really a race war. Like I said, the media would pick up on it. They would paint it as a race war. That's how it goes. So I'm going to make a long story short here. There isn't a really dramatic conclusion to this because nothing ever came of this. But this is just another situation where me as a young man was putting myself in a position I didn't need to be in, and I could have been in prison probably still to this day, just off that one incident. Even though I didn't have the gun, I didn't pull the trigger, I had no idea what Freeze was about to do. Don't matter, there's RICO laws and all that sort of stuff. So me being in the car with them, I'm a party to that. My whole life could have been ruined, but God chose to look out. Now, I'm going to tell you what ended up happening to Skinny and Freeze. Freeze actually cleaned his life up to a large degree. Like he stopped gangbanging and all that after he had been in prison a few times, and he was living a pretty much clean life, except for the fact that he was addicted to certain things. I guess he was addicted to painkillers and cocaine. And you're not supposed to mix Vicodin and cocaine, but he did. And he died in his sleep one night. That was in 2006. And he's been gone ever since. Rest in peace to him. He was a very good friend to me. He always had my back. Never flaked on me. Always shared whatever he had with me. I mean, he was a good dude. So rest in peace to him. Oh, Skinny. Let me tell you what happened with Skinny. Skinny stopped with the gangbanging, at least in the streets. But he got into selling drugs, and he got into getting high off his own supply. And one night, he found out that someone else we both know, who we'll call Red, had slept with his girlfriend behind his back. Okay, so Skinny's house was maybe, 10 blocks away from Red's house. Skinny was high off of meth and a bunch of other stuff, whatever he was high on, I don't know. And by the way, I wasn't there. This is the story I heard secondhand, but I believe it because a lot of people have corroborated the story. Skinny finds this out some night that Red had slept with his girlfriend or his ex-girl or his girl that he was trying to get back with behind his back. And he got super high on whatever he was high on. And he decides he's going to get his gun and he's going to go and kill Red. Well, because he was so high and so out of his mind, he wasn't thinking clearly. And I'm going to show you guys something here. He put the gun that he got to go kill Red with, he put it in a plastic Walmart bag like this. You see this bag of peanuts in? And he started walking down the street with that bag in his hand, with the gun in the bag. He didn't even think to conceal it. He just put it in his plastic Walmart bag and started carrying it in his hand down the street as if he was just coming home from Walmart buying a bag of chips or whatever. And the cops caught up with him. They happened to see him going by, and I don't think they saw the gun from the street because it would be kind of hard to see that, especially at night. But cops didn't like him anyway. He was a well-known troublemaker, and they pulled up on him, searched him, found the gun. This guy ended up getting a federal prison sentence of 15 years. And, it wasn't his first offense. He's already had 7 or 8 felonies by the time he even got caught up for this. From what I hear, he still gangbangs pretty heavy in prison. And from what I hear, he's still very much in and out of prison. He has been, unfortunately for Skinny, he has been in some kind of prison most of his life. I mean, he went to Wales young. Wales is the juvenile prison in Wisconsin. And he's spent very little, really, of his life as an actual free man. 3, 4, 5, 6 months every here and there, and then he's right back into jail or prison. And like I said, Freeze is dead, but Skinny is just, I don't know if he's institutionalized or what. I don't know what the deal is. I know that when I do hear things, I'll hear that he's he'd been out for a little bit, but he's back in. So that's what ended up becoming a Skinny. That didn't happen for me. Now, part of that is because I made some good decisions when I myself got out of prison, but part of that is, God looking out for me. Because I should be sitting there right with them. I should be dead. I should be in prison, or at least in and out of prison to this day. I should be a lot of things. But I'm not. For whatever reason, I've been offered, a chance at life that the majority of my friends didn't have. I mean, even beyond Skinny and Freeze, a good 80% of my friend group from back in the day, people I was friends with, people I associated with, are still in and out of prison to this day. And these are the friends I had in 1993 and 1994, 1995. So it just goes to show you. But a lot of people used to tell me I didn't belong in that stuff. And even when I went to jail and prison, like a lot of the people in prison would tell me, Josh, you don't belong here. And they weren't saying that in a way to like punk me. A lot of times when people hear that, they're like, oh, they're punking you. You don't belong here, boy. It wasn't like that. When they would tell me things like, God's got his hand on you. You don't belong in this environment, Josh. God's got something else for you. I don't know what it is, but you don't belong here. You just need to mind your P's and Q's. There were actually a couple of times in prison where I wanted to get involved and help some friends out I had in there and, put in some work. I'll leave it at that. But they wouldn't allow me to do it because they were like, listen, no, you do not belong in this stuff. That's what they would tell me. And I had leaders of every gang tell me this. For whatever reason, I was able to make friends with the leaders of pretty much all the gangs when I was in prison. And by the way, this is not something I set out to do. It just kind of happened. But I had Latin King leaders, GD leaders, Spanish Cobra leaders all tell me this. And you don't belong here, man. This isn't the environment for you. And again, not in a way to try to punk me, because it wasn't that. It wasn't, you don't belong here, so we're going to take advantage of you. This was, you just don't belong here. There's something God has for you. You just do not belong in this environment. So God was looking out for me. And, to this day, I don't still fully know why I got the chances that, like, my friends didn't seem to get. I was able to get the system completely out of my life, like a year out of, like when I got out of prison, I had a year of probation left. I did it. I got blessed with a really good PO. A lot of people get really bad POs. A lot of people get POs that look for any reason they can to lock you up. And your PO can lock you up for any reason or no reason at all. Your PO can lock you up just off getting the wrong thought about you. They have complete control of your lives. A lot of my friends ended up with bad POs, but I ended up with a good one when I got out of prison. A really good one. And he, as long as I didn't break the law, break a major law, he let me be, basically, except with the exception of the weekly meetings and so on. So there's just so many places in my life that God was looking out for me and God was letting me get to a point where I could make some more correct decisions in my life so that I didn't have to really just follow a life of crime. And, thank God I didn't end up following a life of crime, right? Because Milwaukee is crazy. Milwaukee will pull you into a life of crime real fast. Real fast. Milwaukee will pull you into some violent crimes really fast. It's just, that's Milwaukee for you. But I don't know how to end this, but this is a street story. I don't tell too many of these because I'm not trying to sound like this channel isn't about me trying to sound like how hard I am or whatever. But it's just another story that happened, and something I should have been sitting in jail for probably to this day, and I'm not. And I got God to thank for that. Cash App's link down below. Please show your love. I'll talk to you soon.